out of rocks to make an astrological clock. But can any of us make a pocket watch? Well, if we went to school, we could, but we'd have to be taught. Now, put it that way. Segment. All the time in the world. Can we contend age measures time? Or is this time the grand illusion for it to move or consciousness to interpret any action of the link? So basically, as we are moving through the universe at a rate against time, the speed of light, that is what gives us our perception of consciousness. We cannot have consciousness without time and space. So we cannot travel in space. All right, so anyways, the objective world, it's a perception of space, right? Or Earth, 6 to 8 hertz. Earth and us. And being an acceleration from past to future, well, in perception, it remains only to the creatures perceiving it as present. Aging, how long we are alive. But this is how long we are conscious for. So time is not age. Time is part of the universe. Think about it. Time is actually necessary for this interpretation of the universe. And if it didn't exist how we perceive it as we do, then our consciousness in the universe would be lifeless and a constant static of nothing. So time and consciousness was an automatic aspect that created itself as we move in the universe. It's a perception. We cannot calculate the true meaning of a force, of time. It's immeasurable. Because all consciousness on any form of molar mass divided by mass of a sphere is, how long is a blink of an eye? It remains in one argument as now, a perception of past and future in equilibrium. Or gravity, yeah, this is what I mean. Upon mass, we're allowed the perception, right? Because consciousness needs to have gravity upon mass to have a force which of time we perceive in our mind. It may just be an empty variable that does not exist. Why? What we may be feeling is simply that we are held to the earth with force, and time is the acceleration as we move against the speed of light. And the speed we are traveling at is giving us our consciousness and our interpretation of what we perceive as time in how we are perceiving the blink of the eye, And all this focus of perceiving we're even alive and have been alive is our memories, right? Our memories create our knowledge of the life. Only when the future happens, we become aware of the past. The past is over. Is it? It remains. It ceases to exist within the time capsule of this memory. The future only exists as it happens, as movement emerging from the present. So time accelerates to move us onward and forward. The past is left behind and only exists through the conscious observation we call our memory. But this observation as we move through our lives is because we're here and existing inside of it. All the contents are remaining independent to us. They do not disappear like our thoughts and consciousness and our thoughts. So time is observation of the universe and bound to itself through us. Here independently for our sphere. It does not go away how our perception of it thinks it does. Acceleration is this perception and this movement through space. It hints us traveling with speed. And the universe might be congruent with an all-universal device of an astrological clock if we sat and watched it from space and had the right senses, consciousness, our 7 senses, to interpret the motion through the dark voids if we looked at it. So, to understand some pagan holidays and their meanings, watch the weather. Record what every grid, latitude and longitude of the direction on our planet has a different change to record your experience of, the brisk wind concurrent to Samhain and the Beltane solar flares and warm weather coming. Perceiving the calendars we use today are not original, Our concept of time is a documentation and measurement of interperceptions of creatures and forces of revolutions and speed with the concept that may have to exist as a selected measurement to be agreed upon with a single odd celestial object floating or orbiting around, whatever, right? It's not. Calendars and clocks do not measure time. That is simply, we're lost, right? Moons can invent instruments to measure that, but that's not what time is. Was wheeled around the sun. That's just, everything's been doing the same thing, and we've mastered those measurements required to solve the puzzle of the wheel of time around O'Day's star, right? Constant rate, traveling. It's always been doing the same thing. This is the hard dedication of astronomers studying the heavens, watching our planet circle it, right? It's always been doing the same thing on a constant rate. And we've mastered these measurements. The interval, lapse of our planet traveling around the sun in revolution is spinning our clocks calendars. Right? Yeah. All right, so, that said, the universe, the unit is a tunnel. We're alive and dead at a precise instant, right? Traveling through it, and it's always conscious of itself, right? If we're here, we're bound to its consciousness through electricity that created the consciousness we wear universe, right? Black hole, maybe, no, calorimeter, inside a star, all other stars inside other universes, grows and bursts from the boundaries of a black hole, then a whole thing in the space between the molecule and the compound, giant formation scale, yet so small it could be a single atom, if bigger, if that bigger, but not the biggest of all in the unit, right? Maybe. You know, some objects are bigger on the scale of things. So maybe the speed of light is not just the speed of light. Maybe every star in the universe has a different speed of light because they're all different sizes. So then we have never really know anything about it, right? But due to the motions of the planets and the moon, that for us, this is when our psyches become affected with our emotional sensitivities, right? How the moon in astrology, zodiac signs affect our temperaments. Even so, we can't be exactly sure how this has always been the case, but we all feel these things. So when space direction becomes measured with the celestial bodies, well, no, right? That's where we got the calendar and the clock come in. Because we can't map it from objects visible in the night sky because they're at a constant rate moving in themselves in their own subjective variables, right? The theory of direction that seems illusory because, of course, all the planets are situated to move around the sun. They're always seen, you know, but we could be on the east side or the west side. We wouldn't know it. We can say we're on the east side if Venus is on the west, you know, but that's systematically not a fact because they're on constantly moving, so there's no solid selection place other than where we are viewing it from on Earth with our independent system. And the calendars measure that. New scale of direction, anathema about that. Everything in the universe coexists, otherwise nothing would exist. None of the universe aspect existed at all without every one of its components. And polarity was the brainwaves interacting with the world, you know, and if the universe is a double function, we will live again. If it's not, this is our only life. Figure that out. All right. That's your time for you. Peace out.